What's going on, guys? Asian guy here. Just joking, I'm not Asian guy. But this will be a beginner to early game progression guide for Genshin Impact, which should be current to 2021 versions 1.3 and 1.4. So let's quickly go over what this guide will contain. First, we're gonna define what we mean by early game. Then we'll talk about the main methods of progression and exploration. Then we'll talk about your priorities when playing during this time. And finally, we'll briefly go over the characters and summoning in a free-to-play friendly fashion. So what do we mean when we say early game? Basically, if you start playing the tutorial of this game, it may take you a week, or it'll take you a day or a few hours, depending on how quickly you get through the content. And once you complete the tutorial and get to about AR 12, you unlock commissions, and if you do commissions for every single day for a week, you should be at about AR 20, right? So this is the tutorial / beginner part of the game. In the early game, which follows at AR 20 to about AR 35, you're gonna spend about 3 to 4 weeks to a month. Some people will spend more than a month, some people will blaze through the content in a few short days or weeks, right? But the main part is, this stage of the game, your world level goes up from 1 to 2 to 3, and with that, the maximum character level increases from 40 to 60, and your max count level increases from 2 to 4. So you will start unlocking more content and getting a little bit stronger as the world gets stronger. Right? So why is this important? Because the next stage of the game, which is the mid-game, is when the world level increases from 4 to 5, and you'll be playing in this stage of the game for about 1 to 2 months. And what actually happens is a lot of players end up quitting before they get to this stage of the game or during this stage of the game. And that's because this is a relatively long part of the game to be in, 1 to 2 months. It's double or triple what you've invested into this game thus far. And the content is gradually getting harder. The bosses and mobs are starting to be much tankier and doing more damage to you, right? So if you don't spend your resources and time efficiently during the early game, this mid-game part is going to be more of a struggle for you. You're going to get frustrated, and a lot of players end up quitting before they get to the fun part of the game, which is this mid to late game part, where you start actually reaping in the rewards of your hard grinding, and you can start having fun with your characters doing 50k, 100k, 200k damage. So this video will mostly be about how to efficiently spend your time and resources in the early game in order to give you an easier time later on during that mid-game hurdle. So the question is, what is limiting your early progression? And it's basically adventure rank and exploration. If you look over here, this is the map of the world where you first start out in Mondstadt. So this is actually a very small part of the world thus far. As you can see here, we have several other regions to explore. So you actually spend a couple months unlocking the rest of the map and the rest of the content. In addition to that, in the months to follow, there is going to be this new chasm area, and hopefully within the next year, there's actually going to be a new continent, Japan, which should come with a lot of new quests and characters and content. So what are your priorities when exploring the map? The first priority is to unlock the statues and teleport waypoints. That way you can teleport around the map quickly once you've unlocked them to complete the rest of the content out there. On the left is a map of the statues and teleport points in the Mondstadt Dragon Spine area. And on the right, it's the same picture but for the Liyue region. Now, this may not look like a lot of points, but keep in mind this is a really zoomed out map, and you'll spend quite a long time reaching and unlocking each of these points. Now the next and most important thing is a related thing, which is to find all of the animalculi and geoculi. So as you can see on the left map, there are 65 animalculi in the Mondstadt region. And on the right, there are 131 geoculi in the Lea region. That's a lot, so you'll spend many months collecting all of these. You don't have to get every single one. Technically, you can miss one or two and still fully upgrade the statues, but you will be spending a lot of time trying to climb high and low for these relics. Now the third most important thing after upgrading the statues would be the chests, right? Here's a map of the precious chests and luxurious chests around, right? Doesn't look like much, but the next maps will be for the exquisite chests and the common chests. Okay, get ready. Yeah, so most people, even at AR 50, 55, have not unlocked all of the chests. So you'll spend a lot of time doing this. Even I have not unlocked every single chest on my main account, and I've been playing for a couple months. So yeah, here's the thing. It may seem like a lot at first, but keep in mind that as you're leveling up and progressing through the story, you sort of follow a linear path throughout the map. So this linear path sort of takes you through the teleport waypoints, as you can see here, and it also takes you through a majority of the animalculi and geoculi. So as long as you're following the linear progression of the story, you should cover about 90% of the ground. Now the other 10% you will have to maybe climb high and low and diverge from the path quite a bit, but you shouldn't stress about that. You can always come back to things later when you feel less bored or less just tired of climbing and searching for stuff. Okay, so now that we've talked about exploration in the map, we can go back to this chart here, right? So we've already seen the top part of the chart, where it talks about how long it takes to upgrade your adventure rank. Let's look at the rest of the chart. So what are your main methods of progression during this beginner stage? Well, it's doing your daily commissions and exploring the map, like we just talked about. And your objectives during this time is really simple. It's to, 1, learn the game mechanics, right? Which you should be doing in the tutorial. And second is to explore and do your quests. Now, another objective you should have is to find characters you like. So as you're playing the game, find playstyles and characters you enjoy so that later on you can start building and upgrading and using the characters that you actually enjoy playing. And nothing changes during this next phase, which is the early game. What are your main methods of progression? It's, well, basically commissions and exploring. Your objectives are basically the same thing. You want to explore, reveal, and loot the entire map. And you'll also be starting to find and build characters that you like, as well as learning different elemental combos and combat mechanics. You'll get better at doing combat throughout the game, and you'll get better at finding your main character and playstyle. As for builds, now, before in the tutorial stage, for artifacts, you can just equip anything from chests, right? Equip anything that you find, the highest level stuff that you find from chests, and that should be enough to carry you through the early content. The same goes for the gacha and summoning, right? The early part of the game is simple enough that you can clear it with all the free stuff that they give you. You don't have to stress about getting like the latest new character, the latest new waifu may be popular at the time, because in this early part of the game, the content is simple enough that your free stuff can handle it just fine. Now, when you get to this AR 20 to 35 part, right, you do want to start building your characters with only 3-star and 4-star artifacts and higher. It's fine if you are equipping lower levels, but you solely want to rotate out the lower tier artifacts and upgrading. And you don't have to stress too much about stats, but if you can, like, some good artifact sets are Sojourners, Berserkers, and Martial Artists, but that's not as important. Building is not as important as just exploring and opening chests and getting a feel for the game early on. Now, interestingly, before you get to AR35, if you've done most of the content and collected enough rewards, you actually have enough for about 80 summons, which is enough for about 1 5-star. Right, the guaranteed is 90 and expected value is 75. So it's more than likely that you may end up getting a banner character or a Diluc or a Jean, right, if you unlock quite a lot of the rewards so far. A warning is to only summon if the 4 stars and a few of the rate up characters are good for you, so you don't end up getting disappointed. So as we just saw, there's quite a lot of content that you could be focusing on early on that you may almost end up being overwhelmed. So the question is, where should you focus your efforts? Should you just clear 100% as much as you can? Like, should you just open every single chest and every single guide, every single Sealy? Or should you just do the bare minimum and unlock the quests and levels that are pertinent to your goals? The answer is it's completely up to you, right? If you like doing puzzles and exploring and opening chests, then go ahead and do that, right? If you like combat and just challenging yourself with the Spiral Abyss, then you can go ahead and do that, right? If you like climbing mountains with Lisa, then go ahead and do that, right? You go ahead and climb all the mountains in Lyra and collect all the Geoculi, and upgrade the statues. That way you upgrade your stamina and you can climb mountains for a longer time, right? The priorities in general should be upgrading the statue first, then the adventure rank, then doing your quests and chests. And for this reason, statues give stamina, right, which speeds up everything overall. Adventure rank unlocks content, so you really want to focus on upgrading statues and leveling up your adventure rank. But you also don't want to ignore chests and quests, which are the main methods of progression for experience, mora, and getting materials, right? Interestingly, in this game, the quests and chests give you more EXP and materials than farming and mobbing. So we'll briefly go over what teams and characters are good early on, because this game has quite a heavy focus on characters and combat. So no beginner guide would be complete without brief mentioning of what's good early on. So as you can see, these starter characters are pretty good for this reason. Amber and Kaya have pretty reliable elemental applications for the melt reaction. So in combination with the Animal Traveler, who can spread the elements around and swirl the elements around, you have a pretty good start. So who should your 4th slot be? And out of all the free characters, I think Xiangling is your best choice, because she can give 2 Pyro Synergy, which boosts everyone's damage, and she's actually a better Pyro applicator than Amber, in my opinion, as Amber kind of falls off in the mid-game. Briefly, for the other characters, Lisa, I believe, is outperformed by other Electro characters, and Electro in general is quite weak in the early and late game. Noelle, it needs decent investment to perform well as a healer and as a tank, but with the recent Geo buffs, she actually is a great support for a Geo Resonance Shield sort of team comp with the Geo Traveler. Now, Barbara is an excellent healer early game, but it's worth noting that she falls off dramatically in the late game. Okay, here's some characters that if you're lucky to have pulled, they function pretty well. In the early game, having a physical DPS is really good. It speeds up your combat by quite a lot. Razor is one of the best physical DPSs you can get because of his ability to proc superconduct, and his ultimate has a huge DPS bonus. Now Xiangling can be used as a really good physical DPS as well, right? She needs the Crescent Pike in order to do so, and she would prefer a second Pyro character, but she's really good at this role. And so is Kaya. Kaya can really reliably proc, superconduct, and freeze. And Kaya scales pretty decently into the mid and late game because of this reason. His kit. Okay. So you want to supplement your main DPS with an off-field supports. If you're lucky enough to get any of these off-field supports, you're in pretty good shape, right? Fischl can summon her bird the same way as Xiangling summons the Golba or Pyronado, so they can give damage applications while they're entirely off the field. Kaya is also a great support because he can quickly apply cryo or apply cryo through his ultimate while he's off the field. Sucrose is really good because she can swirl and she can run thrilling tales. Now Xingqiu has probably the most powerful burst support ultimate in the game. If not for Bennett, who is the most OP support in the game, who provides heals, buffs to your team, and in the late game, Bennett essentially doubles your team's damage. Okay. So even though I just talked about team comps with some 4-star characters, I actually highly discourage summoning prior to AR20, and that is because for characters, you can just use the free characters and try and get your free Xiangling and free Barbara early on. The same thing with weapons, and as with artifacts, as we said earlier, anything from chests is fine. You don't have to stress too much about that. Now, in the early game, up to AR35, for characters, remember, you are actually expected from your rewards to get 1 5-star unit. But you should summon only if the 4 stars on the banner are good for you. For example, if you need a good physical DPS, you get Razor. Or if you need a good off-field support and Fischl's on the banner, you can summon for Fischl. But only summon if multiple characters are rate up and you want multiple of the rate up characters, because chances are you may get a character you don't want and end up getting disappointed. Now for weapons, just use the free weapons that you have so far, but you should start using the prototypes if you get lucky, or the 4-star weapons from the gacha if you get lucky to get a good 4-star weapon. And for artifacts, now you actually want to start being more exclusive, choosing only 4-star and up, or if you can't, 3-star and up, and start slowly upgrading. And you want to start focusing on getting only attack percent, elemental percent bonus, or crit rate and crit damage, as those are the ones that boost your damage, overall damage. Alright, here are some final thoughts. Okay, our first theme is that Genshin is a marathon, not a sprint. And here's what we mean by that. Okay, we play for 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks, and we get to AR20. We play for 3 months and we get maybe to AR45. But if we play for 6 months, we get to AR55. In parallel, if we play for about a month, we are expected 1 5-star unit. And this is for free, right? There's some free rewards from just clearing all the story and adventuring and Spiral Abyss. If we play for about 3 months, and maybe we might get 2 5-star units, and one of them will be the banner. And if we play for up to 6 months, we're actually expected enough rewards to afford 5 5-star units. Keep in mind that these numbers are based off of clearing all of the free content, getting all the Spiral Abyss rewards, and doing your daily commissions. Now our second theme is that early game exploration is important, right? So you should do your daily commissions and collect as many chests as you can while you're exploring the world. But you should also explore at your own pace, right? Don't get frustrated if you can't find every chest or complete every puzzle, or if you can't find every Oculus, right? If you can't find it, just like take a break. If you get frustrated, take a break and do things at your own pace, much in relation to the first theme of it being a marathon. And finally, early game builds are not as important as you might think, right? Just level characters and weapons with the free books you get from quests, and you'll do just fine with your damage scaling. Any high level drop, so 3-star, 4-star from chests is fine. Just equip it, upgrade it. Don't stress too much about these stats and sets, because the main thing you should worry about is having fun. Because if you don't have fun, what's the point? Anyways, hope this guide has been helpful to you. If it has been helpful, I would appreciate it if you share it with other beginners or experts who might find this guide helpful. And I would appreciate it if you could subscribe and follow Twitch. If you follow Twitch, I could get affiliate and upload some custom videos and memes on Twitch so I can share more content with various parts of the community. And do let me know if you have any ideas or further questions that are answered in this video, right? It's hard to get different perspectives when a lot of the content creators are either whales or high-level players who are lacking a beginner sort of perspective. So if you're a beginner who found this video helpful, or if you're a beginner who still has further questions, please comment below letting me know what further questions you have so that I could possibly address them in a future video. Or let me know if you have questions about what to expect in the mid to late game so I know what to touch on in future guides. So with that, like and subscribe. Hope you found this helpful. Okay? Peace.